Hello everybody, it's Leanna with the Black Currant Soap Shop on Etsy.com, here today to show you the Handmade Beauty Box. The Handmade Beauty Box is a monthly subscription service created by Anne-Marie of Brambleberry.com and SoapQueen.com, using supplies from her website at Brambleberry to create cool and awesome bath and beauty projects that are super easy and super fun to do, either by yourself or with some friends. If you have any questions about the supplies, you can totally ask the people at Brambleberry.com. Their support team is awesome. But without further ado, let's get started because I'm super excited to jump in. So what I'm doing here is I'm prepping to rehydrate my loofah for the melt and pour soap. I cut it into 8 pieces, enough to fit 1 in each mold, and I set them out next to a bowl of water. Usually I use this bowl for making bath bombs, but today I needed something big to fit them all. And all I did was drop them in, and as soon as I pushed them under, they totally rehydrated again, and they were pretty easy to separate, and I was lucky enough to not have any seeds in them. Here I am cutting up the soap base for the melt and pour soap tutorial. It's pretty easy to do. What I personally do is I take the block and cut it into about 1-inch thick slices, and then once I've cut the slices, I cut it into 6 to 8 cubes and put it in the microwave that way. I find that the smaller the cubes, the faster they melt. You only want to do it on 30-second bursts though, because you can accidentally boil this soap and kind of almost burn it in a way where it'll change color, it'll be lit darker, and it'll smell really funky, and you don't want to do that. But I find that this soap base is a pretty nice one. It's a palm oil base. I've used it before and I happen to really like it, and it's pretty easy to cut. It gives you a little bit of resistance because it is a very solid block, but it melts easily in the microwave. It doesn't start to cool down too fast. It gives you plenty of time to, mix everything you want in. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pop them into the microwave and see how long it takes to melt them. just finished melting my first container in the microwave. It took about 2 minutes or so on 30-second bursts. If you do it for more than 30 seconds, you run the risk of burning the soap, and it's, from what I hear, nasty. I haven't done it, but I've heard it like has this awful smell and it turns like yellow. But what I'm doing is just cutting off a little piece of the color block, which is basically just melt and pour mixed with mica to make it easier to dissolve, and taking my little plastic spoon and just gently stirring it. You don't want to stir too heavily because you can get a lot of air bubbles later, which is kind of annoying because sometimes you can't always get them all. But this color block is really, really orange. I never used Tangerine Wow before, so this was my first time using it. That's why I used only a small piece. The camera doesn't actually pick it up as well. In person, it looked a lot brighter, and as you'll see in a minute, I actually add a little bit more because I wanted this soap to really pop. Normally I'm not a fan of neon colors, but I really wanted this soap to pop because the fragrance is just so bright. I wanted the color to match. Here we are with the electric bubblegum color, which I put in a big piece ahead of time because I thought it would be like the orange where it wouldn't be as intense. It got bright really fast. I think it's even brighter than the orange. Oh my gosh, lesson learned. Next time I use that color block, less is definitely more. It turned very pink on me very fast. It's barely even stirred in, and you can see it's already a hot pink color. I'm not really a fan of hot pink. I used to work a retail job that had a hot pink logo, and the whole store was just covered in hot pink signs and displays. I'm not a fan of neon colors, but like I said, I wanted the color to match the fragrance of this soap. But yeah, definitely not adding that much. Again, that might have been a little too bright. And I think it kind of almost dominates compared to the orange color when you look at them side by side. But doing the same basic routine, just mixing the color and then adding the fragrance oil. Nothing different from the orange one. I'm just trimming up the loofah so it fits a little better in the mold here. A few parts were sticking out and I couldn't rearrange it that it would fit without cutting it. It was no big deal. It was pretty easy to cut once it was already rehydrated and fully dried. Into one mold and then taking the other color and pouring over it immediately after. It creates this almost kind of tie-dye effect. It's kind of hard to describe because it's not quite tie-dye. The colors just kind of blend together in a sense. It's really cool, and I've done some awesome color combinations using this technique before. You can use any number of colors, and I had ones where I've used like different shades of the same color, like 3 different blues. I've had ones where I've had like yellow and green. It's really neat. But if you let the layers solidify, you can actually get clean lines, but that's not what the tutorial for this Handmade Beauty Box called for. It called for a color fusion. And I think even as you're seeing them pour, you're seeing the orange a little on the surface, but some of it's sinking, and you're seeing the pink kind of like blend around it. I thought it looked really cool, and the loofah is just sticking out a little. Some of them rose to the top a tiny bit, but that happens every now and then. Okay, I let these little fellas sit for, I believe, 6 hours, maybe a little longer than 6 hours, and I came back to check on them, and they were completely hard. It was pretty cool in the house today, so I think that's what let them harden up a little faster. And here I am just putting the lids on them. Didn't want to take them out quite yet because I don't know if I want to give them to family or if I want to keep them all for myself. I'm not quite sure yet. I'm not a fan of the colors as much, but again, that's just my personal preference. I love greens and blues and purples and not quite as intense bright shades, but I think it looks really cool. The camera has difficulty picking up how bright they are, but if you look at them when they're farther away, you can see the color fusion going on. You can see little bits of orange and little bits of pink, and of course the loofah you can see from pretty much every angle of the soap, which I think that'll be really cool. I've used exfoliants before, but this is my first time using whole loofah. I did use shredded once, and that's a pretty different experience. They kind of all just mix together and suspend, but here it's just one solid mass. So I'll be interested in trying them and seeing if I like this version of loofah better as a soap exfoliant.